And he's so versatile, so many layers to Izzy's game. And we've heard a lot of talk about this in the lead up. Is the best path to victory for Whittaker, who, by the way, is going to weigh in here in just a couple of minutes, taking him to the ground?
Well, listen, I think that there are multiple paths to victory. I think the first fight, what we saw is not necessarily everything that Robert Whittaker brings to the fight, right? These guys have very similar ingredients that they bring to the kitchen, very similar skill sets, a lot of similar statistics on paper, but it's the way that they use those ingredients and the degree to which they use them and when they use them, and they create a very different dish. Both of them are excellent strikers. Both of them have the power, the technique, and the fight IQ. When you talk about fight IQ, this is like a Mensa meeting when you're talking about two guys with fight IQ. But I mean, compared to the first fight, I do think that we are going to see a very different performance overall, but particularly from Robert Whittaker, who, given the result of the first fight, is the one that needs to make the adjustments coming into this fight.
Yeah, 100%. You talk about in his last 3 fights, you know, him implementing 22 takedowns in those 3 fights. And it's not, I'm not saying that in a sense that he needs to go out there and just go wrestle the champ. I think that he needs to use the wrestling as a means to set up his openings, to land some strikes. You have to sell the wrestling to get him to open up his defense, because Israel's proven to be a very hard target to touch. And if you want to go back in time a little further, you look at his fight with Kelvin Gastelum. Why did Kelvin have success? Because he mixed in the level changes. If a guy has impenetrable defense, there's no better way to bring the defense down than to attack his legs, change levels, make the hands come down, open up some good opportunities for Whittaker to get his offense going.
You know, it's a hard fight for Robert Whittaker. What Robert Whittaker has to do, though, first is recognize that you cannot rush against Israel Adesanya. Adesanya is one of the most talented counter-strikers we have ever seen in the octagon. And even in fight number 1, that is what ultimately led to the demise of Robert Whittaker. Rushing in, and Izzy's just throwing combinations even though he's on his heels. When a guy becomes a great counter-striker, it does not matter where you think you put him. He has an avenue or an alley to go and find the shots that he's trying to land. So for Whittaker, he has to be okay with the slower-paced fight. We go through the highlights, and we watch Adesanya knock out Paulo Costa. Paulo Costa initiated. We watch him knock out Robert Whittaker. Robert Whittaker's initiating. It's not Izzy just starching these dudes off of his start. It's him reacting, him countering, and having such great vision and punch placement that he's putting them out.
So it sounds to me like patience is the
he's
most
got to be
100%.
He has got to be so patient and okay with a slow fight at times. Hey, people pan the Romero fight. People pan the Romero fight, but that's kind of how you got to fight Israel Adesanya.
Yeah. Whittaker coming up here in just a couple of seconds. He's going to be the first one to weigh in. Israel Adesanya not among the first 19 that are ready to go here as Whittaker walks to the stage as we speak, as the official weigh-ins for UFC 271 in Houston are under the way. There's a look at the numbers for the Reaper.
You know, Robert Whittaker is a guy that won the UFC championship, defended the title. Seemed like he was going to hold on to that belt for a long time, but ran into Izzy. But since that fight, the dude has really worked his way back into looking like the Robert Whittaker of old. And that's a very difficult thing to do for a former champion when you're chasing down that rematch.
.184, the official weight for Robert Whittaker.
And 184 for Robert Whittaker, a pound under championship weight. So dude's in phenomenal shape. And as you can see, he carries a lot of extra muscle into this fight. We spoke about that the other day. I interviewed him for my YouTube channel, and he just looked physically better than he did in the first fight. He looks like he's in great shape and ready to go.